What if one simple decision could change the trajectory of your entire life? Well, what if saying yes to love, adventure, and learning could open doors that you never even knew existed? In today's episode, it's all about embracing life's opportunities. I got to have an incredible conversation with an amazing woman who completely embodies these ideas. You are not going to want to miss this one. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wellness from Scratch. I'm your host, Marissa Jackson, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about life, love, travel, and the power of saying yes. I had the privilege of sitting down with an amazing woman named Shonda Sinclair. We had such an inspirational conversation about how embracing new experiences can literally transform your life. Before we jump in, I just wanted to say thank you. At the time of recording this, we are currently at 147 subscribers, and I am just so thankful. Each and every one of you means the world to me, and I am beyond grateful for your support. This journey has been incredible, and I would not be able to do it without you guys. Your encouragement truly keeps me going, and I am so happy to see how far we can grow together. Shonda has lived a full life of adventure and learning. She has learned some truly eye-opening insights, and I am so excited to bring this conversation to you guys. I think it's going to leave you feeling inspired and ready to say yes to opportunities waiting for you. So without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Shonda Rhimes. And if you're new here, hey, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's continue to grow this community together. We're so excited to have you here. Let's say someone is tuning in and they have never heard of Shonda Sinclair. Can you tell them a little bit about you and your story?
I wanted in my younger years to do broadcasting or public speaking, and I didn't go that way. I was convinced by a lot of people that those things were not things you could do for a living and that I needed to hang them up and take more practical route. I took a more practical route. I went to college and I've been doing legal type document preparation for years. But when my mother passed away in 2021, I was turning 50 and she would have been 70 the month she died. And they talk about midlife crisis and whatever. And I actually think midlife crisis is a ruse to keep people in their lane doing what they're supposed to be doing or what they've been told to do all the years. So my mom passed away pretty suddenly, and I decided on the drive to take care of her house and be with family that I was going to pick that back up. I was going to write. I was going to be published. I am still wanting to do public speaking, and I just haven't looked back.
Great. So what is one small daily ritual that brings you joy and that grounds you?
Because I struggle with that. I was talking to somebody recently and trying to do is follow that more intentional, centering, habit-forming path. And one of the things I've been trying to do is light a candle, take 5 or 10 minutes, and make sure I'm writing something, whether it's journaling. I try to sit still and do that. I'm so highly scheduled and I have so many projects that I'm working on that it's hard to do. And it's one of the things, breathe, light a candle, or even sometimes if I'm in a place I can't light a candle, I have a battery operated candle. And I just, you have to make your ambiance and then use your intentional moments to focus and be calm.
I could not agree more. I just started trying to practice mindfulness again. And it's been a struggle because I have ADHD and my mind is always, what am I doing next? It's always going in 10 different directions, it feels like. And being intentional with that time really can create such a big benefit that you really didn't notice, that you couldn't imagine what 5 minutes could do for your day,
Yeah. Well, and I've started in fits and starts off and on. I also make sure to do some exercising and at least a few minutes of treadmill work, or walking. If I can't walk outdoors, I go do treadmill. I just set 10 minutes, and I figure if I can't fit anything else in, I do some meditation things while I'm on the treadmill, and sometimes that's my 10 minutes. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I actually, on my TikTok, I told everyone and I made a promise that I'm going to move my body every day for the year of 2025. And I've managed to do it so far. And so we're just going to see how we go.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, with the best of intentions, life gets in the way, and sometimes you don't have a lot of minutes to spare, and you have to carve them in somehow. You can't do anything and you're stuck at a desk. I sometimes will do just calf raises. I'll stand up at my desk, I'll drink water for 30 seconds and do calf raises for those 30 seconds. Any way that I can get wellness and a bit of calm for my mind.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. My next question for you here is, what's the most memorable place you've traveled during your van life, and why did it stick with you?
Great adventures. We have taken a break from big travel right now, but our most recent big travel was 14 states, and we went to 4 of the Laura Ingalls Wilder home sites, and until she was 64 years old. Now, she did write for magazines, and which is this place out past Amarillo, Texas, where there's graffiti and paint, and they actually will sell you the paint to go graffiti the cars, and you can buy t-shirts and stickers and stuff, and it's just this weird little field out in the middle of nowhere. I went to Tombstone, Arizona. Never had been on my radar. We got to see the reenactment of the OK Corral, and we visited the Birdcage Theater, which is one of the oldest buildings in the town. It's still standing. The artwork on the walls still have holes in them, and we did a nighttime ghost tour, and that was really.
That sounds so exciting. Oh man, traveling is so fun, and getting to learn and see new cultures. Especially, we're both American, and I don't live in America. I live in New Zealand, but I don't think people understand how vast America is and how many different cultures we have there, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's neat to be able to especially when you can do the nomadic travel, and I did digital nomad work, so I worked remotely, and I would actually we would stop and I would work for my 8-hour day, and then we would either travel in the evening or do something in the evening.
Yeah.
Or we would work for 4 days, and then I always had Fridays off, so I would travel Friday, explore Saturday, Sunday, and then you don't have to plan a vacation destination. We go there. You can meander around there. My husband detoured us past it. Is it in Minnesota? It's in Minnesota or Wisconsin. And whatever we were passing through, it was about 100 miles east of us. And I was like, can we just detour it's, 2 hours east, let's go. But we saw so many things that were closer that we could just pull over and see.
That's awesome. That's so amazing and so inspirational to be able to have the freedom to go wherever your heart takes you. And that's honestly the dream. That's honestly my dream.
Yeah. You know what? It has its drawbacks, and you have to go into it eyes open, knowing what it means and what it entails. And in a way, you have to be willing to burn your life down and leave it behind to be allowed and able to do it. You have to pare down, you have to make plans for whether you're going to keep things in storage or just totally get rid of everything and start over again. Find a way to get nomadic and be remote with work, because if you have to stay stationary with work, it's very difficult to do this travel lifestyle.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I did a few years working in some national parks. I've worked in Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, Lake Tahoe, and it is hard. My situation was a bit different because I was working in seasonal work in national parks. So when you're in those kind of jobs, you're kind of going in knowing, okay, I'm here for 6 months, and then that kind of helps you get the next job because you're in the realm,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so amazing.
But working in national parks sounds exciting.
It was so fun, and that's why I moved to New Zealand. I moved here to work in Milford, and then the pandemic happened. So then I became a dairy farmer for 3 years, and that was very different.
Oh, that is exciting.
That was very
that's
different.
Adventure. That is huge adventure. You moved across the world and became a dairy farmer, and yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, that I still can't believe I dairy farmed for 3 years. I was a herd manager, but yeah, life is crazy if you just say yes. Just say yes.
It is. And if you don't like what you're doing, just make a decision to change it. I mean, it sounds cavalier, and I hate to sound cavalier
No,
because there are people who really struggle, and it is monumentally difficult to change your position and your trajectory. Life keeps trying to suck you back down, suck you back in, force you back into that lane where whatever you were in, and it can take a long time. I mean, I'm 4 years into trying to change my life, and it wasn't the pandemic that catapulted us. We were already making the plan in 2019. It punctuated the need for us to make this change. It put the big exclamation point on life throws you things and you might as well live it to the best of your ability, to the finding the most joy you can find, and telling life, no, you're not going to stop me. You're not going. And when you do that, it opens doors that you didn't know existed. And sometimes you have to be houseless to be nomadic. I mean, you are houseless as a nomad.
I couldn't agree
Well,
more. I
that
couldn't
has to be
agree more.
okay, right?
Yeah, you have to be okay with that. Yes, absolutely. Man, I love that. That's so
So what
great.
caused you to go to New Zealand in the first place? Just the forestry? And did you have an opportunity there to work in their forestry?
So I found out about Milford Sound in the Fiordland National Park when I was about 7 or 8, somehow on, like, my parents had bought me a computer for Christmas and I had gone on the computer, like, looking on Google or something, and I found this magical place that looked immaculate. And I was like, I told my parents, I said, I'm going to be a chef in New Zealand one day. And they were like, okay, sure. Yeah, you do that. You do that. You can do anything you want. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then time passed, things change in life. And then I was working in politics at the time, and then I was like, it was very monotonous in a way. Like, politics is fun, but it's also very stressful. And also, I'm not a very political person. So, I just wanted a change. And like you said, I just decided to make a change. And so within 1 week, I was working at a diagnostic center doing testing for DNA testing, drug testing, all this types of stuff. I went from doing that to leaving to go to Yellowstone National Park to work because I had just sat down one day and I think I applied at 50 different jobs. And then I got a call back and they were like, we want you here, but we need you here a little bit sooner than what you said you could be here. And I talked to my dad and he was like, we can make it happen. Let's go. You can do it. And like, we'll get you there. And then I left, and it was only supposed to be for one summer. And it's been almost 7 years and I've never been moved back to Michigan.
Yeah.
So you just have to say yes, and you just have to go because you don't know where it's going to take you, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
and if you
journey's
had said
beautiful.
no, you might still be in that lab doing, useful
Good
work. I
work.
mean, people need to work in labs, and we need people to do that. But if it wasn't for you and it wasn't bringing you joy, and then you were just, here I am doing my work each day,
Yeah.
think about what you could have missed out on. All of
Yeah.
this beauty and travel and adventure and life-changing things that you've done, you wouldn't have done them.
Exactly. And I think also for me personally, having ADHD and everything with that, like I don't think I'm the best employee. I think I work, I'm going to be honest. I think I work better for myself and doing things on my own and having my own path. I think it just works better for me. And also doing the same thing every day is also very hard for me with my ADHD. So doing something for myself, it's better because I'm doing different things every day. So it keeps me engaged more than other jobs. But yeah, awesome. That's great. This is great. So if you could have dinner with any author, living or past, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh my goodness, you ask the hard questions. It's funny. I have asked myself that before, and I don't know the answer. I will give you an answer here in just a second. I think I have undiagnosed ADD. My mom and I used to talk about this all the time because we both have the busy mind, and people have said, we have kind of that kind of way about us. And if somebody asks me what's my favorite color, I can't pick one. I like the spectrum of jewel tones. So authors, there are so many, but I think if I could choose one, at this moment, it would be Ray Bradbury. He wrote Dandelion Wine, and he was primarily a sci-fi writer in the mid-1900s. The sci-fi books it was written in the early 1900s. And it was about, the author was from the late 1800s, and things they overcome and things they encounter and endure. And I never read Dandelion Wine until college, actually. It's got some sensational fantasy type things that don't happen in real life, but for the most part, it's about this young boy, kind of a coming of age story, really grabbing hold of what his summer offers him. So if I could have dinner or lunch or coffee with Ray Bradbury, I would do it. He has amazing ways of turning a phrase.
That is beautiful. I'm going to have to check him out. Do you have any funny or unexpected stories from living on the road that you can share?
A country star named Waylon Jennings. I don't remember what year he passed away, but he was big in the 60s, 70s, 80s. His brother, they were from Littlefield. They were born in Littlefield, into a little civic community park there. And just in town, on the corner, is a liquor store called Waymore's. And we were at the Mexican restaurant in town, and we were just kind of talking about what is there to see in Littlefield and what should we do. And the waitress said, "Oh, you've got to talk to James." And there's a room in the back that's dedicated to Waylon, and it's got all kinds of photos. So we went there, and James wasn't there at the time. His name is James. And so the lady said, "Oh yeah, he comes in the evenings. He loves to talk to people. He'll hang out for some things." And we went. Richie Valens was sick. Someone else was not feeling well. They did a coin toss. Waylon lost the toss, so he gave up his seat on the plane. And the plane went down, and he lost his good friends, and he lost his partner. He and Buddy Holly were going to do their own music studio, because in those days, the studio, and maybe still, the studios they weren't very fair about giving the artists their ample pay, and they didn't keep the rights to their own music, and Buddy Holly had asked if he could have a couple of the songs back that the studio had decided not to produce a few of his songs, and they wouldn't let him use them in any other way. So they basically were holding his songs hostage. And so the two of them were planning to do their own music studio where it would be more inclusive, more available to the artists. Was really a treat. Something that, you don't get to hear just from the news outlets and anything that was public about them. James is super interesting, very articulate, really good storyteller, and he just enjoys chatting, He just likes chatting with people. He likes talking about his family history. He likes keeping Waylon's memory alive. It was really, I was really honored to get to go and meet him. We could have not done it. We could have not asked the lady at the Mexican restaurant what was fun to see. We could have not gone there to even, whatever, that's not exciting, right?
Yeah.
But saying yes to little inquiries brought this really fruitful connection.
This memorable thing that you'll remember for the rest of your life, because you chose to say yes, and we're curious. And that's so big in life too, I think, is having curiosity. Well, what was the biggest shift in your mindset when you decided to fully embrace writing and creative work?
I think the biggest thing was telling myself, I am an author now. I am going to be a published author now. And I just have, anytime I'm tired or I don't want to get in front of the computer, because I love writing, and to learn how to take that 5 or 10 minutes a day and really ground and center yourself through journaling.
Journaling is so important, and getting your feelings out, how you're feeling, because that's one thing I've learned on this journey of well-being. It is that keeping things inside it only hinders anything you're trying to do, and having a channel in order to put your emotions outside of you is so important. So that is beautiful, and I am all for that.
Yeah, it really is helpful to the overall holistic wellness of a person, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been journaling since junior high, 7th grade. My aunt gave me a little journal with a bear on the front, and it didn't have any prompts. It was just a blank, journal diary. And at the time, I really didn't know what to do with it. I mean, I had used to jot down, I've been writing little stories since I was a toddler, stories written down. And I took that book and I started using it, and I have 3 large bins full.
Yeah.
And there have been years where I didn't do much journaling, and it is very useful. It is very useful for mental health. Your physical well-being suffers if your mental state is suffering.
Your body knows what you've been through. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Trauma is held in the body, and
the body remembers.
What advice would you give to someone who feels too late to start pursuing their creative passion?
It's never too late. If you're breathing, it's never too late. I've known people who didn't get published until their mid-80s. I mean, since I started on this journey the last few years, I have met people online who didn't get published until, I think one guy was almost 90 when he first got published. You may not live long enough to see the fruit of that, but it's never too late to start, and it's never too late to pursue, even if you don't want to publish, it's never too late to pursue your creative passion. Never.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can listeners start their own reflective practice?
You know what you're doing and you have your journal, then it's about what prompts you're using and what prompts.
Absolutely. I totally agree that journaling is a tool it's like a vehicle to get you there.
Because you may not even know what things you're thinking or what things you're feeling. It helps you structure what you're feeling, and it helps you dig down in there and pull out maybe the hurts or the things that you've buried or the things that you were escape past without having to deal with. Sometimes something will pop up and I find, there's another little piece I have to deal with now. And so journaling can really help you do that. Because you work through, okay, now here's the piece that popped out. Now what do I do with it? And you can really write that down, and you can work through it, and you can systematically go back over a number.
Exactly, because if you're just thinking about the things that are bothering you or anything like that, it could be in and out of your brain so quickly that, it's gone forever, like the wind. Where if you write it down, it's there in concrete, and you're able to circle back and work through something instead of just letting it go and then having the next thing happen and, away we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still in there and you didn't deal with it. So it possibly will pop up again. That's another thing that I do. I text myself things that I want to remember, and I use voice recorder. So if I think of like the other day, in fact, 2 days ago, I was listening to a radio show, and it sparked an idea for a short story or something, and I wanted to text it to myself, and I didn't do it, and then I was like, what was that? And so I try to always have, if I'm driving, I can't text myself, but I can tell Google, hey Google, open voice recorder, and to say, hey, this is the thing I'm thinking about.
I might start using that voice memo app. That's a great idea. That is awesome.
I mean, if you're Android, you do the hey Google and you open voice, whatever, and then it can start recording for you.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I do use voice notes with my husband sometimes in our chats. So, I mean, I don't know why I never thought about that before, but yeah, using it for yourself is great too. We have to work on building our resilience in life. Can you share how your mother's passing became a catalyst for pursuing your creative dreams?
When people die, it makes you realize this and that about your life. Pay attention because your next day could be your last day. And we say that. We say that is when that switch gets flipped. And for me, my mom was a very creative person. She painted better than many people I know. She could draw. She was a singer at one point. She left a lot of things undone that she would have liked to do. She did so many amazing things. I don't want to be at the end of my life and say, I didn't do it. I didn't send my things out. I didn't seek publication. I didn't pick it back up and run with the ball and become the right. Time is short. She died at 69. Could have technically only 19 years left, or I could have 6 months. You don't know.
I think that that is so inspirational. One thing I do with my daughter is she's 18 months old right now, and I made her an email address for herself, and I write her emails throughout her life about like what's going on. Like, oh, today was really hard. You were teething, and I was having a hard day, but you're so cute and I love you. And here's a picture, or, today we met Santa or whatever. And so however I'm feeling, and then when she one day, maybe when she's like 25, then I'll give her that email and she can look back on her life and she can maybe understand maybe what I went through if she,
Yeah.
And maybe
Beautiful.
it will give her some understanding. I got that. I did not come up with that idea, everyone, but I got it off
It's a great
social media.
idea, though. I love that. I mean, it's
Right?
like a baby book, but it's like a digital age baby book that continues through life. Usually you stop the baby book when they're 2 years old and you don't put anything else in it. And I think that's really great because it'll give her a much more comprehensive look.
And I think it might help her understand maybe the choices I made, whatever they might be, because parenting is hard and, there is no book on how to do it right. So,
No.
you know,
And I have 2 kids and I did it differently with each of them, and I did things wrong with each of them. I mean, I hope I
We're
did
all
things
human.
right with each too, but now that they're both adults, I see, yeah, if I could go back, I would pivot and do some things differently. But my mom always said, it doesn't matter what you do as a parent, your kids will need therapy for one thing or another. Because you're going to mess them up some way, even if you have the best of intentions and you do everything by the book, what people would think of as right.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And that's what they say. No matter what you choose, you're going to need to take accountability for something later in life to your kids. I'm personally really working on is when that day does come, to be open and hear my kid and to acknowledge and whatever I need to do. How has overcoming physical health challenges shaped your perspective on life and wellness?
Each time you have a physical health challenge, it makes you realize that life is a gift and health is a gift, and it is one that you can try to keep giving yourself by doing things to stay healthy, but sometimes you're not in control of that. And when you have an ailment, it really takes away from your ability to manage daily life. It takes away from to be creative, and it's important to stay healthy. I have a knee problem that set me back more than one time. I've been down, I couldn't move my hand for 7 weeks, and now I still suffer with a little bit of mobility issues with this hand. Thankfulness and this habit of gratitude when you are perfectly healthy and fine.
I couldn't agree more. I once broke my leg on the farm and was stuck in the house for 6 weeks, and I had never been more thankful to be with the cows in my life.
Miserable. Yeah.
Miserable. In what ways has adversity made you more connected to your true self and your life purpose?
To adversity. My whole life has been full of adversity. And not as bad as some people's, but in that adversity challenges us. It sends us things that are unpleasant, that maybe we would rather not go through, but it forces us to learn what we have inside. You're either made of metal or you're not. And if you're not, you're going to struggle harder to make it through this life. This internal steel core that kind of insulated me and helped me get through things. Use every setback as a learning and growth experience. You can still think and talk, and you got to find joy and happiness in the things that do work and that are good. If you don't, you're going to get smashed. This life is trying to smash us.
One thing I heard in psychology is that everyone in life is born with a cup, and everyone's cup is a different size. So some people have really big cups and they can withstand a lot of things going on. Each little thing in the day puts a little bit of water in the bucket. And some people only have a capacity for a little amount of things, and other people have a large capacity. So that is interesting. I do wonder what creates those buckets per se, and what gives us our capacity to withstand certain things in life. That is very interesting.
And they say life doesn't throw more. Sometimes people feel like they can't bear it, and there are people who
Yeah.
reached their capacity and couldn't take any more.
Yeah.
And so that's always a thought on my mind about how much can people take.
That's when community becomes so important, is to have community there when you do fall, to be able to pick you back up, you know?
Yeah. Wherever you can find it, wherever you can reach it, there are people out there who can help and who will listen and care.
Okay, cool. And have you ever faced doubt on your path? And if so, how did you push through it?
Than you, always somebody more. Flip side, there's always somebody who is less successful, less popular, less, accomplished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I heard a saying it was a couple of weeks ago, and it basically said, the only person you should be comparing yourself to is you yesterday. And that's it.
Yes.
And that's the guide you go by.
Yes. Actually, I love that. That's very good. Yeah. Because as long as you're making progress on your path, you are making progress.
Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation. If you guys are feeling inspired by this episode, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think or what type of content you would like me to cover next. Make sure to like and subscribe so I can continue making amazing content like this where we talk about well-being. I'll see you guys in the next one. And if you've been thinking about starting your weight loss journey or finding it hard to stay on track, I have a special video that I know will help. Click here to check it out and take the first step towards your goals. I'll see you guys over there. Bye.